Kennedy. It's great to see you and tease you as always. All right, I'm Laura Ingraham. This is the Ingraham Angle from New York City tonight. Tipping over and falling down. That's the focus of tonight's angle. Now, we could start the show the easy way tonight on Biden's dismount skills, or we could just focus on that weird whisper thing he did today on the beach.
I'm also very proud of some of the states, like right here in Delaware. And passing assault weapons ban.
Why does he do that? Or we could just poke fun of the least fun person on the face of the planet, Liz Cheney.
Had the Vice President of the United States obeyed the President of the United States, America would immediately have been plunged into what would have been tantamount to a revolution within a paralyzing constitutional crisis.
But instead, let's talk about what matters, shall we? It's called the future. Now, here's the bottom line. The Western establishment is losing its ability to govern completely. What happened in the French parliamentary elections over the weekend was absolutely stunning, and Americans should pay attention to this. The pretty boy liberal Emmanuel Macron lost a governing majority, driven by huge gains by the right and left-wing parties. Now, for years, there's been an undercurrent of discontent building throughout Europe as working people were falling further behind. This was preceded by the Islamic refugee influx, and now, of course, inflationary concerns and the Ukraine-Russia nightmare. So rather than address the needs of their people, the old European Guard seems obsessed with living out their fantasies of the new global order. You know what I'm talking about, taming capitalism, punishing wealth creators. And of course, Biden's totally on board with that.
We also can move in a direction that we can provide for increasing taxes on those in the corporate area, as well as the individuals as it relates to Trump's tax cuts.
How original! Higher taxes. I haven't heard that before. Political elites are just no longer nimble, because even when they bring in a charismatic newcomer, and obviously that's not Biden, someone like an Obama or David Cameron or Emmanuel Macron, it doesn't work, because those folks are trapped in the same old cycle of tax, spend, and divide. Oh, and the gerontocracy, they've been out of steam for many years. Everything they did since Biden got in has made things worse.
We had to ratchet up spending. We put money in the economy. We tried to keep businesses open, try to keep people with income in their pockets. And whenever you do that, you run the risk of inflating things. And what you then have to do is try to find some balance in all of that. And we're searching for that balance. We'll get there.
The balance? Well, the voters are already there. They see what the balance is, Congressman, and they're out of patience. So the time has come to recognize that history has entered a new chapter. The old solutions that might have worked to some extent maybe back in the 90s, they don't even make sense today. Here in the United States, we have to forget talking about a new Republican majority. To quote Newt Gingrich, our next guest, we need a new American majority, new coalitions. And the following reforms have to take place. Number one, we have to promote fair economic growth. We need an economy that features overall growth and higher wages for working people. So basically, the same type of economy we had before COVID hit. This means we need to get Americans back to work, physically back to work, with tax and regulatory policies that encourage and reward going to work. But we also need trade and immigration policies that are going to prevent plutocrats from just outsourcing jobs or preventing working Americans from making their fair share. Let's use their lingo. Number two, we need a realistic game plan to deal with the rise of China. We don't have that now. The current establishment is simply too weak and too compromised to ever meet the challenge presented by the CCP. And as things stand currently, I hate to say it this bluntly, but we are on pace to lose our independence and eventually become a puppet state of the CCP. So we need a complete reform of our military, our intelligence community, our diplomats. No one, and I mean no one, thinks China fears this man. We cannot wait for the rest of the world either. No one, by the way, is calling for isolationism. They always hit you back with that one. It's simply an absurd lie. But we cannot wait for countries like France, Germany, and Japan to help us. To be candid, the rest of the world thinks that America is in terminal decline at this point, and that the future probably belongs to China. So no one's going to make sacrifices to help us if they think we're doomed. Number 4, we need a patriotic government. Too many people in D.C., and I've been there for too long, I'm sorry to admit, they're simply serving time until they can go lobby for multinational corporations, or yes, even for the Chinese. Too many Washington bureaucrats are taking taxpayer dough to sit at home instead of doing the normal thing, like go to work, go to the office. Too many of our diplomats are more concerned about the world than defending our national interests.
We're looking at the largest economic opportunity and transformation since the Industrial Revolution, and this will be bigger because every nation in the world is going to have to move to a clean, new energy economy and future.
Of course, that's music to China's ears. America is unilaterally disarming in the energy battle right now while China is burning coal, building coal plants, using oil, undeterred by Kerry's green diplomacy. They're just laughing. Meanwhile, as all this is happening, the Pentagon is more concerned about being woke than about preparing to kill our enemies. Check out this Pride Month pronoun training video now being used by the U.S. Navy.
Hi, my name is Johnny and I use he, him pronouns.
Hi, and I'm Conchi and I use she, her pronouns.
And we're here to talk about pronouns. Using the right pronouns is a really simple way to affirm someone's identity. It is a signal of acceptance and respect.
If it's a signal of acceptance and respect, how do we go about creating a safe space for everybody?
Okay, my Lord, this is embarrassing. This has no place in our military or anywhere, frankly. It's just stupid. The Democrats do believe they have an answer, however, to this perceived patriotism deficit. It comes in the form of something called a new Civics Secures Democracy Act. It's a mouthful. It's just reintroduced in Congress. Well, Stanley Kurtz tells us that if it's passed, it will allow the Biden administration to push critical race theory on every public school in America. Over a 6-year period, a $6 billion pot of competitive grant money will create a de facto national curriculum. CSDA has added Republican senators Bill Cassidy from Louisiana and Jim Inhofe from Oklahoma as co-sponsors of the newly reintroduced bill. Unless America's parents wake up and make themselves heard now, there's a very real chance that CRT could be the new Common Core by summer. Now, this is insane. But except for these foolish Republicans giving him cover, it's not really surprising. More on this in just a few moments with Newt Gingrich. For years, the leftists spread anti-American poison through our schools, our universities, of course, the media, movies, corporate boards, every other forum. So we need new leaders who are proud of America and who work every day to defend her interests. Number 5, we have to make America safe for social conservatives. Now, in a desperate effort to hold on to power, the current establishment has allied itself with radicals on the left who just want to ban social conservatives, including devout Christians, Muslims, and Orthodox Jews from the public square, period. It's because in today's Democrat Party and in much of corporate America, you just can't participate at the highest levels if you have the wrong religious beliefs. Heck, you can't even coach a high school football team.
And the thought that somebody of any kind of faith would have to hide who they are or, have to, just be ashamed of them being, anybody of faith, that's just wrong in my book.
This is not only wrong, it also means that we're not giving all of our best and brightest people a chance to fully participate in civic life. So these attitudes aren't just poisoning the Democratic Party, they've infected many state and city governments. And they're in common with the media in our top colleges and even in the military. So this has to stop. But we do know how to fix all these problems, don't we? Because if you look at where the U.S. economy was back in 2019 or where Florida and Texas are today, the policies that would fix most of this, those were tried, are being used. So the decline of America is not inevitable. A new survey by YouGov Yahoo tonight indicates that Americans are disgusted with Joe Biden's performance. And even with Liz and Benny's January 6th mudslinging, they prefer Trump now in a head-to-head matchup. Wow. So Americans know a failed establishment when they see it. In its handling of COVID, Afghanistan, false promises on Ukraine, prices at the pump, at the grocery store, the crime surge, thousands of flights being canceled over the holiday weekend. That was fun. So Biden tipping over on his bike, yeah, that's bad. But America tipping into third world status, that is unacceptable. And that's the angle.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.